Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Anime Octopus, and today we're diving into an exciting fanfic scenario. What if the Konoha 12 watched Naruto? Disclaimer: the content on this channel is purely for entertainment and discussion purposes. I don't own any of the anime footage used in my videos. Full credit goes to the original creators and copyright holders. Alright, let's get started. Sun-kissed, spiky hair stood out among the bustling market area of Konoha. Civilians and shinobi alike were engaged in their daily activities. Energetic vendors announced their products and prices with broad smiles, while curious customers moved from shop to shop, seeking their desired items. Shinobi of various ranks headed toward the village gates, packs slung over their backs. Unseen to most, Anbu operatives leapt silently from building to building, seamlessly blending into the shadows. Amidst this lively scene was Naruto Uzumaki, a boy with a wide, carefree grin on his face. His whisker-like birthmarks stretched as his smile broadened, and his cerulean eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. Though short for his age, Naruto's spirit was anything but small. He wore blue sandals that matched his orange, shin-length trousers, and a bright orange jacket with blue shoulders and white collars. His hands were casually clasped behind his head as he strolled down the street. The green goggles he once wore on his forehead had been replaced with the Konoha forehead protector, a symbol of his newly attained status as a Jonin. The jubilant boy paid little attention to the cautious glances sent his way or the distance others kept from him. None of that mattered now. He was finally a ninja, Dadabayo. Naruto soon arrived at his destination, a tall red tower that dominated the small compound, its most prominent feature being the building marked with the insignia of fire, the Hokage's tower. He had woken up early that morning at the behest of his new Jounin sensei, Kakashi Hatake. According to the silver-haired man, the Hokage had requested an important meeting with this year's rookies, and they were to assemble in the Hokage's office half an hour past 7. Entering the grand structure, Naruto found himself walking along a curved, green-padded hallway leading to the office. Several ninjas passed by, some clutching paperwork, while others simply moved about their duties. His footsteps echoed slightly as he approached the large wooden door that marked his destination. Disregarding protocol and formalities, he pushed the door open. "Good morning, old man." Naruto cheerfully greeted Hiruzen Sarutobi, whom he regarded as a grandfather figure. Hiruzen Sarutobi, though long past his prime, remained a revered figure in Konoha. Once hailed as the god of shinobi, his current self was but a shadow of his former glory. His once brown, spiky hair had turned a shade of ashen gray, and his tan skin had lightened with age, now marked by wrinkles and liver spots. A grim expression was etched into his face as he observed the individuals gathered in his office. A diverse group of individuals watched the proceedings, each experiencing a spectrum of emotions ranging from fear to mild anxiety to complete indifference. Seated closest to the Hokage were 11 children, each adorned in unique attire, yet all sharing the common symbol of Konoha shinobi, the forehead protector. These children were Neji Hyuga, Rock Lee, Tenten, Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akimichi, Ino Yamanaka, Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. Behind them stood the adults, all equally puzzled about the reason for their gathering. These adults included Might Guy, Asuma Sarutobi, Kurenai Yui, Kakashi Hatake, Hyashi Hyuga, Yoshino Nara, Shikaku Nara, Choza Akimichi, Inoiki Yamanaka, Sumei Inuzuka, Shibi Aburame, Kazashi Haruno, and Mebuki Haruno. Each of these adults were the respective Jounin sensei and parents of the 11 children present today. The Hokage had summoned them for a purpose known only to him. "Hokage-sama, may I ask why we have been called here?" inquired Kurenai, the red-eyed genjutsu mistress of Konoha, addressing her elderly superior. "Patience, Kurenai. We are awaiting the arrival of one more person," Hiruzen replied calmly. "Ha, never thought I'd see the day when Kakashi is earlier than someone else," chuckled a bearded man with a cigarette dangling from his mouth. "No doubt that fool would be late," Sakura muttered, clearly annoyed. "Ma, Sakura. I'm sure Naruto has a good," Kakashi began to explain, but was interrupted as the door swung open, revealing a mop of golden hair that was even more striking than the garish orange jumpsuit the wearer called his outfit. "Morning, old man," Naruto shouted cheerfully as he entered, flashing a feral grin and giving the peace sign to the Hokage. "Good morning to you as well, Naruto-kun. I'm pleased to see you've arrived," the Hokage responded, his weathered features softening momentarily as he smiled at the son of his predecessor. "Of course I'd make it, old man," Naruto replied confidently. "Well, seeing that you're here, we can finally start," the homage started. He looked at the other occupants in the room while Naruto wedged himself between his teammates. His smile withered as a pronounced frown took its place. Hiruzen got up from his seat, before closing the door Naruto had left open. "Now that we're all here, I'd like to explain why I've called this meeting in the first place," seeing that he had their undivided attention, the military leader continued. "I'm an old man, and I'm nothing like I used to be back in my prime. Fortunately, there is no need for me to be as active as back in the past due to the somewhat peaceful era we're in," Hiruzen began. "But, I'd no guarantee that this will always be so. I fear that there might be trouble in the future. My senseis had worked towards a peaceful time and both had achieved it somewhat, but if there is one thing I've learnt from then is that there will always be war, no matter the era." At this, some of the battle-hardened veterans had nodded their head in agreement. While it would be great to achieve true peace, that was too idealistic in the shinobi. "I understand what you are saying, Hokage-sama, but what does that have to do with us being here?" "I'll be addressing that now," Shikaku, the god of shinobi, spoke. "You see, these 12 young ones in front of us represent the future of our village and each of you are the ones tasked in their upbringing, so for what I have planned for today, it is necessary for you all to be here." Sarutobi gauges their reactions which altered from embarrassment to nervousness at his diction. What could be so important that not only all the rookies in the team before but their jounin senseis and parents had to be present? Lost in their thoughts, they had missed when the Hokage activated the privacy seals in the office. But they didn't miss when he closed the binds. "What we say, do and discover in this room, stays in this room, are we clear?" The man's voice was quick and sharp, channeling reserves of his strength that gave him his feared title. "There are many techniques in this world that have been banned due to their nature. One such of this is a space/time jutsu that we will be using today." "And what is the purpose of this jutsu?" Kakashi asked, being the most familiar with these types of techniques. With his senseis being the Yellow Flash himself, plus the ability of Kamui, he was head over shoulders compared to others when it came to space/time techniques. "To see the future," the Hokage answered without hesitation. "What?" Sakura shouted. If she heard correctly, she would have been sure that the Hokage said that they were gonna see into the future. "Yes, Sakura-chan, we will be able to see into the future with the usage of this technique. Specifically, all of yours," Sarutobi spoke while eyeing all of the Konoha 12. But the possible Repra Inoiki tried to explain before he was cut off by the Hokage instead. "Inoiki, this is my decision," Sarutobi's eyes then narrowed dangerously, "or are you opposing my rules?" "No, Hokage-sama." "Good." Naruto, having heard everything the Hokage had said, had only one question to me, "Old man, if I do this, will it tell me if I become Hokage or not?" the cheerful boy asked. "Quite possibly, yes," Sarutobi answered. "Then what are waiting for, TBO? Let's get this show on the road." Hiruzen smiled and nodded at his ninja's request. Drawing for sealing kit, he began mapping out a matrix on the floor in front of the chairs, before repeating the process on a much broader scale on the wall. When he finished, he brought his hands together in a hand sign. The seals glowed blue on his command and the room was illuminated at the brief light show. Hiruzen turned back Naruto with a smile on his face. "All right, Naruto-kun, since you're so eager, how about you go first?" The boy agreed immediately. In the blink of an eye, he was out of seat and was poking around at the seal. How does this work, old man?" Naruto sheepishly grinned while the Hokage grinned at his pseudo-grandson's antics. "Just stand on top of the seal and channel some chakra to your feet. When the seal turns blue, You should stop, okay? Got it. Let's do this, into the future, T-by-O. Within seconds, the seal glowed blue and the other seal on the wall began to change into a small screen before flickering to life. It was a cool morning in the Konoha. The great ninja village hidden deep in the land of fire, surrounded by the massive trees that led to its name, was a picturesque scene of prosperity. The low cawing of birds as they flew overhead and the gentle breeze that carried the leaves to its will. The village had prospered throughout the years as many new buildings were erected since the day of the honorable first Hokage. Wow! It really does show us the future. I can't believe it, Ino commented with an awestruck look on her face. The blonde rookie was not alone as many others around her had the same expression to match. This is an ingenious technique, Hyashi credited. Before this moment, he couldn't have fathomed such a technique. But he also saw the need to ban such a technique. The consequences were extreme. In the village, persons could be seen walking along their merry way, a smile on their face and a jig in their step. But there was a collective set of individuals, however, that caught most persons' attention. Something tells me that Naruto is coming onto the scene soon enough. Various shinobi and civilian alike watched with barely concealed amusement as they stared at the Hokage's monument. The large monument, which had the faces of the past Hokages carved into the aid of a cliff, overlooked the entire village. Whenever one would look upon this monument, a strong sense of inspiration and pride would swell in their hearts of being a part of this family, the one that bared the will of fire. But now, if someone were to look at the monument, they would guffaw at what had happened to the massive construct. Why, you may ask? Simple, the Hokage monument had been defaced. Yet again. Hiruzen could not help but sigh in exasperation at the blonde ninja who was sheepishly grinning with his hands at the nape of his neck. Baka! Sakura shouted at her teammate, even when you've grown up you're still an idiot. Sakura chastised. But, Sakura-chan, how do you know it's even me? Naruto pleaded in his defense. Sure, that was something he would do, hell, he had done it already. Of course it's you. Sakura continued. Boruto really outdid himself this time, a civilian commented. And with this statement, Sakura flushed in embarrassment at her previous statement while the blonde danced in his seat. I could only wonder what Naruto would say about this. Like father like son, another voice inputted. And just like that, Naruto stopped dancing in his seat. His grin gone and a firm line set on his face. If he had heard right, then that meant. I have a son? The shinobi asked with eyes as wide as saucers. Troublesome. Of course it would be your son who caused so much trouble. What a drag. Hanging from a rope, dangling in front of the Hokage's monument, was a familiar mop of blonde hair. In one hand was a red paint bucket while in the other, a paintbrush. The boy was clad in black jacket with red accents left open to reveal a white undershirt. With black shinobi pants accompanied by black sandals, the figure was happily moving from one face to the next as he mercilessly graffitied the stone faces. The boy had blonde hair that was smooth along the length but spiky at the tips, resembling a leaf. Cerulean eyes sparkled with mirth and, not unlike his father, the boy possessed whisker birthmarks. Wow! I gotta say, the kid looks a lot like you, Naruto, Ino commented offhandedly. And it was true, she could easily see the familiar resemblance. Although, it begs to question who the mother is. Naruto paid no attention to her, his eyes fixed at his son. Not noticing a blushing Hyuga who was surely hoping for a certain possibility. Reaching the sixth, Boruto prepared his brush to paint the face of his father's sensei, Kakashi Hatake. No way. The orange book had fallen out of the copy nins, likewise the cigarette stick that had made residence between the lips of Asuma. I become Hokage? Kakashi asked no one in particular. Everyone had their eyes on the jounin who apparently becomes their Hokage. That was until a hand clamped down on his and irate voice rang true. Boruto couldn't help the grin that formed on his face as he turned towards the speaker of the voice. Dad! You came, the prankster exclaimed at the sudden appearance of his father before he pouted. But that's unfair, shushin' isn't allowed. Naruto Uzumaki glared half-heatedly at his son. He wasn't angry, it would be hypocritical if he was. But he was sure as hell annoyed at the boy's antics. His blonde hair had been cut short since his youth. Not completely abandoning his love for orange, Naruto wore a long-sleeved button-down shirt with black stripes along the cuffs. Similarly like his son, Naruto also wore black shinobi pants with black sandals. Thrown over this was his pride and joy, the Hokage's cloak. Yada! Naruto shouted in glee. There was no doubt about it now, Naruto had become the Hokage. I'm the Hokage, I'm the Hokage, Naruto sang while most of the others had a gobsmacked look on their face. Congratulations, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen smiled, his eyes wrinkled in a prideful glee. No way. The Dobi becomes Hokage, impossible, Sasuke whispered, completely ignored by the dancing Jinan. Congratulations, Naruto-kun. A certain girl thought. A fist crashed onto the boy's head. Wincing under the blow, Boruto allowed his Uzumaki blood to run rampant. What the hell was that for, shitty old man? What was that, you brat? What was that, you brat? The Hokage shouted at the boy. Boruto pouted and tilted his head away from his father. He would never say it out loud, but Boruto loved his father and was upset that he hardly got to see him anymore because of his job. So whenever he could, Boruto would replicate his father's pranks so he could get his attention. That's so sad, Ino-kun, and the rest of the kunoichi couldn't help but agree. It was obvious to see that the boy was hurting from not being able to see his father, and Asuma couldn't help but relate. Naruto's glare softened, and in one fluid motion, he grabbed his son and jumped up towards the top of the fourth's head, a place Naruto spent most of his time. And right now, Naruto could see the irony. Whenever Naruto had felt lonely because he didn't know who his parents were, Naruto shrunk under the gaze of his classmates when they heard that, to them, Naruto was always so happy, so it was surprising to hear about this side of him. He would always come here to vent on top of the fourth's head, not knowing that it was the same fourth Hokage who was his father. Look out there, tell me, what do you see? The village, Boruto answered his father. No, Naruto shook his head, what I see is my family. Whenever I look out my window, I see my brothers and sisters going along their businesses. I see my aunts and uncles living in peace. And most importantly, I see all my children, playing and training, and in their hearts burns the will of fire. This village is my family, and so are you. So I want you to know, Boruto, even if you don't get to see me a lot, I still care about my family. About all you, your mother and your sister. Okay. Naruto finished his speech with a wide grin on his face and his eyes shut, missing the tears that welled at the corners of his son's eyes. That was profound, Kurenai spoke through the silence that had settled as they listened to Naruto's speech. It was strange to believe that it was the same blonde menace that loved to prank others would be the one who spoke like that. It would seem that the boy had grown monumentally throughout the years. Naruto then stood back up, before placing his hands on Boruto's shoulders. How about this, if you clean this up before the 5-cage meeting starts, I'll teach you one of my techniques, Naruto bribed his son. You promise? You have my word. Boruto grinned, just like his father did before him. With a loud databasa, he was off the side of the cliff and getting ready to work. The connection faded out and everyone was left in a slight state of awe. But who could blame them? They had just seen the future. The future. Not only had Kakashi apparently become Hokage, but so had Naruto. The dead last. So it would be sensible to believe that they were in a state of shock, which was only broken when one Sakura Haruno had jumped up and went towards the seal to show her future. Maybe I'll see if I end up with Sasuke-kun. Sakura stood atop the ceiling matrix that the third Hokage had scribbled on the floor of his office. Clasping her hands together, she sent a pulse of chakra towards her feet and the seemingly random scribbles glowed blue before the seals on the wall once again glowed just like they had before. This time over, they presented a different scene. A much older Sakura sighed as a black crow flew overhead, a soft caw echoing throughout the large backyard. The sun had reached its peak altitude in a clear sky. A soft breeze blew stray leaves in a restless dance in the wind, gliding lazily around the woman of the house. Naruto, seeing a much older Sakura, blushed at the woman displayed in the projection. The adult version of his teammate was no doubt more beautiful than his prepubescent comrade. Wow, forehead. You grew up pretty nicely, Ino complimented her best friend turned love rival. Sakura was about to say something back to Ino, but the Yamanaka beat her to it. But you still have that massive forehead. A large tick mark bulged on the pinkette's head at Ino's backhanded compliment. Shut it, Ino pig. A sigh left Sakura's lips. She tilted her head to the left slightly, causing her chin-length pink hair to sway along her movements. Emerald eyes reflected a sense of longing for something. A form-fitting sleeveless crimson kimono dress hugged her body and stopped just below her knees. Thrown over all this was a white apron, hinting at domestic work. There was light sagging beneath her eyes, evidence to her work hours at the hours, yet a light smile still adorned her lips. The kunoichi stood at respectable height of just over 160 centimeters. The last identifiable feature of the woman was the violet diamond mark in the middle of her forehead. Well? This is interesting, Kurenai remarked at the sight of the mark on Sakura's forehead. What is Kurenai-sensei? Asked the ever-shy Hyuga heiress, barely being able to utter the question. Who could blame her? Not only was she in the presence of her father, but the Hokage and Naruto-kun of all persons was here as well. It was a miracle the girl hadn't fainted yet. She means the mark on Sakura's forehead, the third had answered for the heiress. After all, it was his student who had created the technique. It's called the Strength of 100 seal. It is an incredibly powerful technique that can only be done by persons with perfect chakra control. In fact, the only person who has this mark is my student, Tsunade, one of the Sannin. All the members of the Konoha 12 had their jaws on the floor. Sakura, the raging fangirl, had somehow replicated a technique known only to the strongest kunoichi. The future is really not what they expected. First Naruto was Hokage, then Sakura is super strong. What next? The 5 countries have some sort of alliance. PFFT. Yeah, right. I think it goes without saying that Sakura managed to become Tsunade-sama's apprentice sometime in the future, Kakashi commented. She continued what it was she was doing, namely, hanging wet clothes to dry in the sun. Executing the task while whistling a tune, she was unprepared for when the back door slid open and a dark-haired girl stepped outside. Coarse black hair styled in large bang that was swept to the left side and hair cut at the nape of the neck. The girl wore glasses, pink in color, over coal eyes. The girl wore a dress similar to her mother, but where her mother's had no noticeable design, hers had a zipper that ran its length down the middle. The dress stopped mid-thigh to reveal white shorts. Knee-length socks led to kunoichi issue sandals. Welcome home, Sarada, Sakura greeted her daughter. Sasuke had frozen when Sarada had entered the picture. The reason being, the girl looked like an Uchiha. The facial structure might have been reminiscent of his pink-haired teammate, but those eyes and hair were undoubtedly that of an Uchiha. But that couldn't be. The only way that girl was an Uchiha was if he was the father. And if he was the father, then the mother was. The mother was. His train of thoughts were derailed by the loud squeal Sasuke had distinctly recognized as a fangirl. His eyes met Sakura's, and he could see she had reached the same conclusion as him. Oh sweet tomatoes on a stick, this can't be happening. Yes. I marry Sasuke-kun. Sakura shouted with glee, not noticing the seething fury of one Yamanaka. No you don't. Yes I do, Sakura retorted, before she wiggled her brows, and so does Sasuke-kun, Sakura joked while poking fun at her rival. Yep, she was gonna brag. I don't get it. Why do you guys think that Sakura married Sasuke? Naruto asked. In his mind, Sakura was gonna marry him. If he could get Hokage, why couldn't he get Sakura as well? Sasuke, who had been silently watching, decided to finally speak up. Because Dobi. That girl there is definitely an Uchiha. We don't know that. Sakura spun to greet her daughter, revealing the Uchiha clan crest on her back. Ha! Told ya. but stopped when she noticed the crestfallen expression on her daughter's face. Smiling, Sakura knelt before her daughter before cupping her chin. "What's wrong? Did Boruto prank you again?" "No. It has nothing to do with Boruto did this time," Sarada told her mother, "and it's not like I care what that idiot does anyway." "That's not what you told me last time," Sakura teased, then giggled when she saw the furious blush on her daughter's face. It was too easy to tease her daughter. Although she wondered what her husband would have thought if he knew his daughter had a crush on Naruto's son. There was no need for that because the Uchiha was fuming. Glaring at the blonde menace beside him, Sasuke told him exactly what he was thinking. "You keep your son away from my daughter." Needless to say, Naruto got the message. "It's not that," Sarada explained. "It's... well, I wonder." Sarada tried to explain before stopping. She had no idea how to confront the problem she was facing without making her mother uncomfortable. "What is it, Sarada?" "You can tell me," Sakura prompted. "Well, it's that I saw Boruto today with his dad." "That's me." "Shut up, Baka, and let my daughter talk." Hi, Sakura-chan. "And Shikadai was with his dad." "Who's Shikadai?" "Probably my kid, the lazy Nara, aren't they all?" concluded. After all, his family was notorious for naming all their kids with the first term Shika. Probably too lazy to think of a different name. "And I wonder what your father is like?" Sakura finished for her daughter, and if the pained expression on her daughter's face was anything to go by, she was right. Sakura stood up and sighed, before she led her daughter inside and settled her on the couch. Sakura went into the master bedroom which she would have shared with her husband if he was around. But that wasn't something she would dwell on now, she had something else on mind. Shuffling through a myriad of stuff, she finally found what she was looking. A black photo album? She went back down the stairs, and met the curious eyes of her lone daughter. Her pride and joy. "Come here," she motioned Sarada closer. With that done, she opened the album to reveal a picture of a certain team. In the middle of the picture was a smiling Sakura with her eyes closed. To her left and right were Sasuke and Naruto, who were too busy scowling at each other to pay attention to the camera. Behind them was Kakashi with his hands on both Sasuke's and Naruto's head, clearly amused at the two boys' antics. "As you can, your father isn't the best at showing his feelings, but..." Sakura flipped through the pages to show another picture, one of an exhausted Sakura laying in a bed yet a bright on her face. Seated in a chair beside her was a man with black hair with a long bang covering one of his eyes. The man was too busy smiling at the small bundle in his arms. "A baby, Sarada, know that your father will always love you. He might not have been here for a few years, but what he's doing now is very important. So when he comes home, you can spend all the time you want with him, okay?" Such a happy moment, the Hinata said. She was happy for Sakura got the one she wanted. But was even happier that this meant that Naruto hadn't ended up with his crush, so that meant she had a better chance now. Sasuke, however, had a different reaction. He slowly and subtly grabbed Sakura's hands before smiling at his future wife. Blushing and looking in the other direction, he muttered to her, "Thanks for what you said. Akazashi, look at our little girl all grown up." Mebuki Haruno exclaimed while grabbing her husband's hands, effectively ruining the moment. "Sure, Mom," Sarada agreed. "Hey, Mom?" "Yeah, honey? Is it true that Lord Seventh was Dad's first kiss?" The unexpected question had both boys sputtering while the others who had seen the incident cracked up laughing. At the other side of the village, Naruto suddenly felt a tingle run down his spine, one he knew distinctively. Sakura was angry at him. And for some reason, he blamed his absent teammate. "Damn you, Sasuke." With those last words, the screen flickered out of existence and reverted back to the ceiling matrix. "So, who's next?" Kiba asked. Ino was fuming. She could not believe what that last glimpse had shown her. How was it possible that forehead girl had won Sasuke over her, She knew for a fact that she was by far the prettier of the two, so why in the seven hells did Sasuke choose Sakura over her? Perhaps the forehead girl had drugged her poor Sasuke-kun or trapped him in a genjutsu. Yeah, that must be it. She thought as she watched the current Sakura draw closer to the current Sasuke. And surprisingly enough, he didn't pull away or chastise her for her advances. That does it. Ino raged in her mind, don't worry Sasuke-kun, your beautiful Ino-chan will save you from that forehead. So with her mission in mind, the blonde Yamanaka rushed to the ceiling matrix before flooding it with her chakra, smirking as the screen flashed to life. Just you wait Sakura, Sasuke will be mine again. 'Tis the mind of a fangirl. Where the hell is he? An irate Ino roared at apparently no one. Most of the occupants were taken back from Ino's loud voice. Meanwhile, a certain Nara muttered something about blondes getting more troublesome in the future. The resident Yamanaka was not the happiest of campers at the moment. Her beautiful face contorted into a fierce scowl, the female member of the Shika Ino-cho formation glared at apparently nothing, not noticing the, big-boned man inching away from her with each passing second. The man was plump, and stood proud at an respectable height just short of 180 centimeters. Dressed in red clothing with gray armor, the man clenched his bag of chips and moved towards his male counterpart. Standing beside him with an expression that said I'd rather be anywhere but here, the figure sighed at his teammate's loud screech. Black shinobi pants that led to a plain black t-shirt, everything about the man screamed I'm too lazy to care. Reaching into the inside pocket of his cream jacket, the man produced a single cigarette. Oh look! It's Future S. Ino squealed as she observed how their future counterparts were dressed. Nodding inwardly, she was pleased with the apparel she would grow up to wear. A common practice amongst the shinobi was the fact that they would buy multiple copies of the same clothing they wore as a sort of trademark for themselves. And her future self surely had style, that she would concur. Wearing a collarless purple blouse that exposed her midriff, the younger Yamanaka realized that she had grown to abandon the bandages she usually wore around her stomach. This was followed by an ankle-length skirt of the same color which somehow gave a seductive charm without exposing any skin. In her terms, absolutely perfect. Her father however had different thoughts, which he was not hesitant to make known. Absolutely not. He basically screamed, there is no way I am allowing you to leave the house dressed like that. But Daddy, she tried to protest but was cut off by the overprotective Yamanaka head. Listen here, Ino. There is no way, and I mean absolutely no way am I allowing you to ever leave the house like that, he ranted. I don't know what the hell my future self is thinking but your mother and I completely disagree. Right honey? At this point the man had turned towards his wife sitting to his right. The quiet woman sat with a small smile on her face. Her brown hair caught in a bun with a few strands framing both sides of her face, the woman had the look and feel of a noble and classy lady. I don't know honey, I think she looks splendid, the woman commented, secretly loving the betrayed expression on her husband's face. While she knew he had the best of intentions, she also knew that the man had the habit of overreacting and playing the part of a overprotective papa bear. And she just loved messing with him. Not that she would admit it out loud though. See? Mom agrees with me, Ino defended. Plus with the way I look, Sasuke-kun would surely come crawling back to me. She added in her mind. You're still so troublesome, the smoker of the group drawled. Plus, none of the other brats are here yet so just relax. The man tried to explain to the mindwalker. Taking a long drag from the smoke stick between his lips, the man was surprised when the cigarette was yanked away. Eyes narrowing in irritation, the man was greeted with the annoyed scowl of the blonde kunoichi. Unlike your son Shikadai, my little Inojin is a obedient child who knows the importance of training, she lectured. Shikamaru could only shrug in response. What? It was true and he wouldn't deny it. His son was a lazy bastard and he was damn proud of it. Hell, he even encouraged it. As long as he didn't turn out to be anything like his mother. Throwing the cigarette to the ground, she proceeded to crush the stick beneath her sandals. And how many times am I gonna tell you that you should stop smoking? I swear, you're worse than Asuma-sensei. Suddenly Asuma yelped and flew from his seat. Someone had poked him with something sharp. Glancing around, he noticed the glare of a certain red-eyed genjutsu mistress and silently swore that no matter what, he would not allow Shikamaru to smoke. At least, not in front of her. Troublesome blonde. He muttered under his breath. It wasn't smoking that killed Asuma-sensei, he muttered, before quickly apologizing when he saw the visibly flinch at the mention of their late sensei. I'm sorry. It's just. Yeah, I understand, the Yamanaka murmured. The three shared a moment of silence. I'm dead, Asuma uttered in shock. Sure, he knew the life of a shinobi was usually a short one, but to know that you wouldn't live to see your students grow and raise their own family was a whole other level. Shikamaru could only spare a short glance at the man he had come to know as his sensei. Sure, they had only met just yesterday, but if his future self was anything to go by, he had come to know the man as a close friend and a treasured comrade. Then that means that this is one thing we are to change in the future, Kurenai suddenly spoke up with finality in her tone that showed she would accept no arguments. Speaking of Asuma-sensei, how is Mirai holding up? Mirai, who's that? Kurenai asked, secretly worried that Asuma was dating another woman before he died. Kakashi, seeing where Kurenai's line of reasoning was heading, reasoned that a bit of fun wouldn't hurt anyone, so he decided to antagonize the younger Sarutobi in the room. Perhaps she's his lady friend, we may never know. Needless to say, Asuma was not amused with the silver-haired man trying to mess up his relationship with Kurenai. She's doing fine, Shikamaru answered, drawing another cigarette from his coat. She just made chunin a while ago, so there is no doubt Kurenai-sensei is proud of her. And I'm sure Asuma-sensei would be proud too. Of course, any father would be proud, she answered before yanking the new cigarette from Shikamaru's lips and giving it the same treatment. I'm a dad. Asuma exclaimed. The Jounin-ranked Sarutobi was near the point of fainting at the moment. First he found out he was going to die soon enough, and now he has a daughter. And if he understood the conversation, then the mother was no doubt. Yosh. Asuma and Kurenai, both of you have shown us that your flames will shine brightly. Come Lee. We must train so we too can match their flames of youth. The ever-exuberant guy shouted, not noticing the red tint on both Jounin's faces. Yes, Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Oi. What was that for? Shikamaru uncharacteristically asked in a loud tone. He was pissed off that she kept taking his cigarettes. Ino glared at the ponytailed man and huffed before crossing her arms beneath her sizable bust. Do you honestly think I'm going to let you smoke yourself to your grave? Come on, Choji, tell him how bad smoking is for him. The large Akimichi glanced at his two teammates. Why was it that they always did this to him? The two would usually get into an argument and would ask him to be the deciding factor. Most times he would usually decide in Ino's favor, knowing that Shikamaru would simply forgive him the next second. After all, who would want an angry Ino on their case? Not him. But this time, however, Choji chose to simply sit this one out, so he shrugged before digging back into his large bag of chips. Shikamaru smirked at Choji's decision, knowing that this action left the trio at an impasse, meaning he could do whatever the hell he wanted. Granting himself a victory smirk, Shikamaru pulled his last cigarette from the pack and placed it between his lips. Perhaps his fatal mistake was that loud sigh of content, or the fact that he blew smoke in the direction of the blonde that led to his ultimate defeat. Not too sure what had caused it though, but Shikamaru was about to one-upped by the Mindwalker when she decided to use a below-the-belt tactic. A move that easily ranked amongst the likes of do not kick a dude in the nuts in the rulebook of dirty tricks, right behind never steal Icha from one Kakashi Hatake. A trick so callous that it brought fear to the married men of the Nara clan for generations, which was also the reason why most persons believed that the Nara men were secretly masochists. Yep, that's right. She used the wife card. Then maybe I should just tell Tamari about this. Then she sang sweetly to the horror of Shikamaru. You wouldn't. Try me, she prompted. The man glared for a moment before sighing in defeat. Motioning for Choji to follow him, he set off in the direction of the village. under his breath mumbling something about troublesome wives. Shikaku shot his son a look of sympathy. I understand, brat. It's Nara's fate to land ourselves troublesome wives, no matter how unfortunate it is. For a man of his intelligence, that was probably the stupidest thing he could have said in that situation, seeing that his wife was right next to him. Poor Shikaku, he never saw the frying pan coming. Better question though, where did she get the frying pan from? Where are guys heading? Ino asked as she observed her two teammates heading back to the village. The trio had decided to head out to the forests where their kids would meet them so they could train the next Shika Ino Cho generation. Back to the village, Choji probably has to head home before Karu gets mad, and I need to get back to work before Naruto burns down the village. And I need a new pack of cigarettes anyway, Shikamaru answered as he continued to walk away. What about training? Our kids are gonna be here any minute. No, they're not. If they were, they would be here already. Knowing Shikadai, he probably chose to head home, the sneaky bastard. Now that I think about it, Tamari did say her brothers were visiting today. Chocho more than likely is eating dangos with Anko, and Inojin wouldn't come near you without the other two, so he's probably hiding somewhere. Ha, even your own son is afraid to go near you, Ino pig. Shut it, forehead girl. Ino took a moment to process Shikamaru's words before reluctantly nodding in agreement. That did sound like something their kids would do. Muttering, she followed after her two teammates, leaving the small clearing. A few moments after they left, two figures made themselves known in the same small clearing. Whoa, who the hell are those guys? Kiba remarked aloud. By the looks of their headbands, they are Konoha nins, the third answered, but that man, I have no idea who he is, and I know all my shinobi. One was a tall man and the other was a boy, who admittedly looks a lot like a girl. The man had short jet black hair while the boy had blonde hair kept in a ponytail. But that was where the differences ended. Both males had translucent pale skin and identical gears. Dark gray and black jackets that exposed the midriff and black shinobi trousers with red backpacks. The most noticeable feature of the males were their smiles, however. Smiles that seemed fake, yet you could tell that they were real and heartfelt. The two figures dropped from a branch where the younger of the two spoke first. Thanks, Dad. I'm not sure what I would have done without you. The boy spoke with relief. In his eyes were the telltale signs of true fear, something the boy had come to know that only his mother could instill in him. No worries, I know firsthand what your mother is like when angry, the man stated, his smile slightly growing as he ruffled his son's hair. I'll tell Ino that I saw you over at Sarada's house. That should bid you a couple hours while she talks to Ugly. Thanks again, Dad, the boy said as he ran off to who knows where. With that, the screen slowly faded and transformed back to a series of scribbles. Was that my husband? Ino asked slowly as she put the pieces together. So it seems. And I was right to say that your son was hiding somewhere, Shikamaru answered, and Choji snickered at the next generation Yamanaka. But who could blame him? He would rather hide than confront Ino when she wasn't in the right mood. Breaking the three from their conversations, the loud voice of Naruto broke all the others from their speculations of the future. What seems to be the matter, Sakura-chan? The boy inquired with concern. Did that man just insinuate that I'm unattractive? She exclaimed, brimming with indignation. There was no way she would let such a comment go unchallenged, not a chance. Even her inner self was in complete agreement. Ino blinked, then burst into laughter as she realized that her husband had indeed made such a remark. Wiping away the tears that had formed from her amusement, Ino managed to say between giggles, "It's no wonder I married him, he's got a sharp wit. And he's easy on the eyes too," she added, though thoughts of Sasuke lingered at the back of her mind. Suppressing her irritation, Sakura decided to deal with her husband's remark later and turned her attention to the group, asking who would like to go next. My dear YouTube family, that's all for now. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more content. Thank you. Anime Octopus.